This house has definitely been one of the biggest challenges I've ever had. It really was a blank canvas that I could create something completely unique that the family could live in. My name is Joanne Burgess. I run a design practice called The Curious House. We're sitting in Denmark House in the centre of Henley-on-Thames, which we spent 3 years lovingly restoring. I believe this little square was the centre of Henley. So the bottom of the lane that runs adjacent to the whole house, that used to be a bridge that crossed the Thames. That was the original bridge. So this was the kind of centre of the old town. Apparently the Prince of Denmark stayed here at some point, and that's where it got its name. When we bought it, it had been empty for, I think, possibly about 10 years. So it did need a lot of love. It was 7 bedrooms when we bought it, but we wanted to make a house that works for us, for modern day living. So it's essentially a 4-bedroom house, but with lots of living space in there. We've got a lot of artwork, so we wanted a gallery room. We've got a lot of books, so we wanted a library. It's a very old house, you know, some parts of it 17th century. Because it had been an architect's firm in the 60s, 70s, the architect had added lots of mid-century details, so I had to try and marry the two. I think I probably experimented the most on the bottom floor. And I only say that because we were living here during the renovation. We worked our way down, and it took 2.5, 3 years to fully do it. I just became bolder, and I kind of embraced what he'd done. And obviously the biggest mid-century feature in the house is the spiral staircase as you come in. So I could do lots in that kind of what I call the gallery room. I mean, the kitchen is the hub of any house, isn't it? We wanted to make sure that that space just worked for us all day. Same level, I didn't want any steps, which is, with landscape and everything, does prove quite tricky, but we managed it in the end. Because of all the mid-century details in the house, I was just drawn to terrazzo. I think it's just such a symbolic mid-century feel. Although I think when you walk into that room, the floor is really bold. Lots of the colours are the palette that are around the house, and it's just fun, because I think kitchens can be incredibly boring. You know, the terrazzo just gave us room to be creative, really. It is daunting and important when you take on a historic building, because particularly with this house, some houses, you know, they're still in the style that they were built, but so much had been done to this house. I mean, it's a different feel kind of in every room. But you do need to think about how the house is going to flow. So I always have natural colours, so I always have greens and blues, and we have green throughout the house. It was 2 different bedrooms originally and a bathroom that wasn't joined on. And I knew I wanted that sightline because I did get some really nice items in the bathroom. I've got the Water Monopoly suite, which I do think is beautiful. But the sightline with those tiles from the bedroom into the bathroom, it's another very inexpensive mid-century technique where they just add little batons on the side of a unit or a cabinet, which create this illusion of lines and drawing the eye through. One thing I would always say is, if you're renovating, always check. If something's boarded up, always check what's behind there, because sometimes there are some real gems. It was a really strange shaped room, and we knew that would have been a fireplace block at some point. And there was just a little, like an air brick size hole. When we saw these delve tiles, and they're filthy, so it was really hard to see, but they looked pretty spectacular. They're really old, they are 17th century, and it's just a lovely focal point to have in that room. You have to respect the house. The house speaks to you. You have to leave it so it's functioning for the next family who takes it on. And I think that's part of the duty of somebody who takes on an old building.